The stories you are about to hear are original fiction, written for dark and quiet nights. Turn off the lights. Close your eyes. This is Erebveil. Story 1. The Last Exit. Highway 1, Pacific Coast, California, USA. You know this road. Not this specific road, maybe, but you know the feeling of it. Late at night. Driving alone. The kind of dark that only exists when you are far enough from any city that the sky actually means something. The radio is low, the heater is on, the white lines are coming at you, one after another. In a rhythm that is almost hypnotic, you are tired. But you keep driving. Because stopping feels wrong tonight. You do not know why stopping feels wrong. You will. This is a story about a road on the Pacific Coast of California. Highway 1, one of the most beautiful drives in the world. During the day. At night it is something else entirely. The road runs along the edge of cliffs that drop 200 feet to the ocean below. There are sections where the barriers are low. There are sections where there are no barriers at all. Just the road and the edge. And the black water far below. Between the town of Gualala and the town of Jenner, there is a 30-mile stretch of Highway 1, with no turnoffs, no services, no emergency stops. You drive it or you do not drive it. There is no in-between. In the autumn of 3 years ago, a man named Daniel Reeves drove that stretch alone, at 2 in the morning. He had driven it before, many times. He knew the road. He called his wife at 2:17. The call lasted 4 minutes and 31 seconds. His car was found the next morning. On the shoulder of the road, engine still running, driver's door open. Daniel Reeves was not in it. He has not been found. I want to tell you about that phone call. Because his wife, a woman named Sarah, agreed to share what he said. She said the call started normally. He was tired. He was telling her he was almost through. The long stretch. He was going to stop in Jenner, get coffee, then drive the last hour home. Then he went quiet. She asked if he was still there. He said, yes. He said, there is someone on the road. She asked what he meant. He said, standing on the road. In the middle. Just standing there. She told him to slow down, to be careful, to go around them. He said, I slowed down. I am going very slowly now. I can see them clearly. She asked, what do they look like? He did not answer immediately. Then he said, they are not moving. They are just standing there, looking at the car. And then he said something that Sarah has never been able to explain. He said, they look exactly like me. The call stayed connected for another minute and 40 seconds. During that time, Daniel said nothing else. Sarah said she could hear the engine. She could hear the wind from outside the car. She could hear what she described as a very faint sound she could not identify. Like something settling. Like a weight shifting. Then the call ended. The next sound Sarah heard was the automated voicemail message, telling her the call had been disconnected. She called back immediately. The phone rang 6 times and went to voicemail. She called 11 more times that night. Each time, 6 rings, voicemail. The phone was found in the car the next morning, on the passenger seat. Unlocked. The screen showing his wife's missed calls. There were no signs of struggle, no skid marks, no blood, no indication that the car had stopped suddenly. It had been parked, carefully, on the shoulder, as if he had chosen to stop there, as if he had seen something, and pulled over to look at it, as if he had gotten out of the car to get a better look. Now, I need you to think about something. You are driving alone at night, a road you know, music low, heater on, and in your headlights. Standing in the center of the road, there is a figure. You slow down, you get closer, and as your headlights illuminate the figure fully, you see something that your brain refuses to process. The figure is you, Not someone who looks like you, not a trick of the light. You. Your face. Your clothes. Your posture. The way you stand when you are tired. Standing in the road. In the dark. Looking back at you through the windscreen. What do? Most people, if they are honest, know the answer. They would stop. They would get out. They would walk toward it. Because the thing about seeing yourself, standing somewhere you are not standing, is that it does not feel like a threat. It feels like an answer. It feels like something you need to reach. Daniel Reeves walked toward it. We know this. Because of what was found. On the shoulder of the road. Beside his car. His footprints. In the dust at the road's edge. Walking away from the car. Toward the cliff. 31 footprints, each one clear and deliberate. And then no more, as if on the 32nd step. He simply ceased. The cliff at that point drops 212 feet. To the ocean below. His footprints did not reach the edge. They stopped 12 feet from it. In the middle of the road's shoulder. In empty space. No edge. No drop. No explanation. Just 31 footprints. That end in the middle of nowhere. As if the man who made them stepped through a door that no one else could see. Highway 1 is still there. The stretch between Gualala and Jenner is still 30 miles of dark road. Along the edge of the cliff. People drive it every night. Most of them drive past that shoulder without slowing down. Most of them do not look at the road ahead long enough to see if anything is standing in it. Most of them. If you ever drive that road alone at night and something appears in your headlights, do not stop the car. Do not get out. Do not walk toward it, no matter how much it looks like you. Story 2. The room at the end of the hall. A holiday cottage, Scottish Highlands, UK. You rented the cottage for a week. You needed the quiet. You needed the distance. You needed to be somewhere where your phone barely worked. And the nearest town was 40 minutes away. And the only sound at night was the wind off the loch. The cottage was everything the listing promised. Stone walls, low ceilings, a fireplace that actually worked, a view of the water from the kitchen window, 4 rooms, a kitchen, a sitting room, a bedroom where you slept, and a room at the end of the hall. The door was locked. You tried it on your first night, not because you needed to go in, just because it was there. Just because a locked door, in an empty cottage, is the kind of thing you try without thinking. The handle turned halfway, then stopped. You assumed it was a storage room, a room the owners kept locked, private belongings, old furniture. Nothing unusual about it. You stopped thinking about it. By the second day, by the third night, you had forgotten it was there. The noise started on the 4th night. You were in bed, almost asleep. The fire had burned down to embers. The cottage was dark and warm and still. And from the end of the hall, you heard a sound. Not a knock, not a footstep. A weight shifting, the specific, unmistakable sound of something heavy, adjusting its position. The way you sound when you turn over in bed. You lay still. You told yourself, old cottage, stone walls, timber floors that expand and contract. With the temperature, completely normal. The sound came again. Then silence. You fell asleep eventually. On the 5th night, you heard it again. Earlier this time, you were not yet close to sleep. You were reading. The cottage was quiet. The sound from the end of the hall was unmistakable. Weight shifting. Something moving in a confined space. You put down your book. You listened. Silence. Then the sound again. Closer this time. You got out of bed. You picked up your phone and turned on the torch. You walked to the bedroom door and opened it slowly. The hallway was empty. The door to the locked room, at the end of the hall, was still closed. Still locked, you assumed. You stood in the hallway with your phone torch, and you listened. Nothing. The cottage was completely silent. You stood there for a long time, long enough to feel that you were overreacting, long enough to feel slightly embarrassed at yourself. You went back to bed. You were almost asleep when you heard the sound again. Not from the locked room, from the hallway, right outside your door. You did not move. You lay in bed, with the covers pulled up, and you stared at the ceiling. And you did not move. The sound came once more, right outside the door, and then it stopped. You did not sleep. In the morning you walked the whole cottage, every room, the kitchen, the sitting room, the hallway. Nothing out of place, nothing moved, nothing disturbed. You stood in front of the locked door, at the end of the hall. You tried the handle. It turned all the way. The room was empty. Just a small square room. Stone floor. Low ceiling. One small window looking out at the loch. But in the center of the stone floor, in the dust that had not been disturbed, in what looked like months or years, there were marks. 2 long parallel lines in the dust, like something had been dragged, or like something had been lying there, and had shifted, back and forth, for a long time. The marks were fresh. You could tell because the dust around them was still settling. You stood in the doorway of that room. For a long time. You did not go in. You called the letting agency. You told them the locked room had opened. You told them about the sounds. You told them about the marks in the dust. There was a long pause on the line. Then the woman said, "That room is supposed to stay locked." You asked why. She said, "The previous tenant asked us the same question." You asked what happened to the previous tenant. She said, "They left on the 3rd night. They would not tell us why. They just left. They did not ask for a refund." You said, "What is in that room?" She said, "Nothing. There is nothing in that room." But her voice, when she said it, told you something different. You left that afternoon. You did not pack slowly. You did not make coffee first. You threw your things in the bag. And you locked the front door behind you. And you drove away from the cottage, without looking back. You have not been back to the Scottish Highlands. You have thought about that room, every night since, not about what was in it, about the door, about how it was locked from the outside, when you arrived, and unlocked from the inside, when you left, and about the question. You never asked the woman at the letting agency whether the previous tenant, who left on the 3rd night, remembered to close that door behind them. Story 3. The name on the stone. The Transfăgărășan Road, Carpathian Mountains, Romania. Imagine you are walking through an old mountain cemetery in a country you have never visited before, a country whose language you do not speak, a country where you know no one, a country you arrived in 2 days ago and will leave in 5 more. You are walking through this cemetery, the way tourists walk through old cemeteries, not looking for anything, just looking. The headstones are old, weathered. Most of the inscriptions are in Romanian. You cannot read them. They are just shapes to you, patterns in stone. And then you stop in front of a headstone that is older than the others around it. Gray stone. Carved letters worn smooth by rain. You stop because you can read it. Not the date, not the inscription below, just the name at the top. Your name. Exactly your name. Spelled correctly. Carved into a headstone. In a mountain cemetery in Romania, before you were born. This is not a metaphor. This is not a coincidence I am asking you to accept. This is exactly what happened. To a woman named Elena Vascu, a travel writer from London, who visited the Transfăgărășan Road in the Carpathian Mountains of Romania in the summer of 4 years ago. Elena was not her original name. She was born in London. To British parents, her original name was Emma Clark. She took the name Elena when she married a Romanian man. 12 years ago. She had never been to Romania. Before that trip, she was visiting her husband's family. For the first time. On the third day, they drove the Transfăgărașan, one of the most spectacular mountain roads in Europe. Winding up through the Carpathian peaks, above 2,000 meters. They stopped at a small village cemetery, near the summit. Elena walked among the headstones alone, while her husband spoke to relatives nearby, and she found the stone. Elena Vascu. Her full name. The name she had taken 12 years ago, the name she had chosen, the name that was not hers by birth, but had become hers by choice. On a headstone in a Carpathian mountain village, dated 1931. She was born in 1983. She stood in front of that stone. For a long time. Then she called her husband over. He looked at the stone. He looked at his wife. He looked at the stone again. He said nothing for a moment. Then he said, "This is a common name in this region. Elena is a very common name. Vascu is a common surname," Elena said. "I know." But she did not look away from the stone. Because below the name, there was an inscription. Her husband read it aloud in Romanian. Then he translated it. He said, "It says she will return." Elena asked her husband to photograph the stone. He did. They drove back down the mountain and said nothing about it for the rest of the day. That night, Elena could not sleep. She lay in the bedroom of her husband's family home, and she thought about the stone, about the name, about the inscription, about the fact that the woman buried under that stone had died in 1931. At the age of 38. Elena was 38 years old. She got up. She found her husband's phone and opened the photograph of the stone. She looked at it for a long time. The name, the date, the inscription. She will return. And then Elena noticed something she had not seen when they were standing in front of it. Something she had missed. Because she had been too focused on the name. At the very bottom of the stone, below the inscription, carved in smaller letters, almost worn away by decades of weather, there was a date. Not the date of death. A different date. A date that had not yet passed. I will not tell you that date. I am not going to tell you. Whether it has passed yet. I am not going to tell you. What happened to Elena in the months after she returned to London? I will tell you what she told me. She said, "I went back." I asked her what she meant. She said, "To the cemetery." The following summer, I went back to the stone. I asked her why. She said, "Because the inscription said I would. And I needed to know if it was right about that, before I let myself believe it was right about anything else." I asked her what she found. When she went back, she said, "The stone was the same. The name was the same. The inscription was the same. But the date at the bottom, the one carved in small letters, the one that had not yet passed, when she first saw it, she said, it was different." I asked her how it was different. She said, "It was a year later." I asked her what that meant. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I think it means that whatever is waiting for me is patient. I think it means that the stone knows I am not ready yet. And every year I go back. The date moves forward. 1 year at a time, waiting for the year. I do not come back. She visits the stone every summer. She has visited it 4 times now. 4 times the date has moved forward. She says she will keep going back. Every year. For as long as she is able to. She says she does not know. What happens on the year she cannot make it. She says she does not want to find out. Neither do I. Neither. Should you. Those were tonight's stories. 3 things that could happen to you. A road you know at night. A headlight that shows you something. That wears your face. A room at the end of a hall that was locked when you arrived. and open when something finished, whatever it was doing in there. And a stone in a mountain cemetery, in a country far from home, with a name that is yours, and a date that keeps moving, just far enough ahead to keep you coming back. The dark is patient. It has always been patient. It will wait for you, the same way it has always waited. I hope tonight you are somewhere safe. I hope the road outside your window is empty. I hope the door at the end of your hall is exactly where you left it. This is Erebveil. Good night.